Nikola Tesla believed that he could harness the energy from inside the Earth and transmit that power wirelessly around the world. His early experiments were successful, but his research mysteriously vanished after his death. There is no evidence left of Tesla's wireless power technology, or is there? Nikola Tesla stands out as a uniquely different and significant figure in history. To understand the reasoning behind this argument, consider his impressive list of accomplishments. He could perform integral and differential calculus in his head. Even with a calculator, most people find it exceedingly tough. He was fluent in 8 languages. He could recite all of Serbia's epic poems from memory. All of his complicated designs and schematics were partially constructed and kept in his memory. He rarely drew any sketches. Wardenclyffe Tower, also known as the Tesla Tower, was an early experimental wireless transmission station designed and built by Nikola Tesla on Long Island in 1901, located in the village of Shoreham, New York. Tesla intended to transmit messages, telephony, and even facsimile images across the Atlantic Ocean to England and to ships at sea based on his theories of using the Earth to conduct the signals. Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower was built on top of an aquifer, with copper and iron rods extending down into the water. When electricity was sent into the tower, it was intended to be transmitted around the world through the atmosphere. In the year 1900, Nikola Tesla convinced J.P. Morgan to fund a project to create a wireless communication system. When Tesla received the funding, he decided to scale up the project. Rather than transmit messages around the world, he would transmit power. Tesla had already demonstrated that wireless power would work on a small scale. He famously had light bulbs scattered on the ground that would illuminate when a Tesla coil was activated nearby. Now, he wanted to go bigger. He explained this world-changing technology to J.P. Morgan and asked him for more money to complete the project. Instead of supporting Tesla, Morgan pulled his funding, claiming a breach of contract. J.P. Morgan owned General Electric, which would be made obsolete. He owned a telegraph company, which would also become obsolete. J.P. Morgan owned copper mines all over the world, and his factories generated miles of copper wire. He owned coal mines that fueled existing power plants, and he owned 24 railroads that transported all these resources around the country. None of this would be necessary if Tesla created free, unlimited wireless power. For several years, Tesla wrote J.P. Morgan almost every month, begging him to reconsider. He wouldn't. Instead, J.P. Morgan chose to finance Tesla's competitors Edison and Marconi, who were improving on and getting rich from Tesla's inventions. Not only did J.P. Morgan refuse any further investment, but he also put out word to everyone in the wealthy investor class that Tesla should be avoided. Tesla was essentially blacklisted. By 1915, Tesla had accumulated so much debt that the bank foreclosed on the Wardenclyffe property. The tower was demolished in 1917 and sold for scrap. The project was never completed. Tesla was a genius, but he was at a disadvantage. Men like Edison and Marconi knew how to bring Tesla's inventions to market. They knew how to make technology accessible, and most of all, they knew how to play the game. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. That's why 84% of the world's energy is created from fossil fuels. It's also why Tesla died alone and broke. Think of the technological advances that could be made if electricity was free. Think of the political strife, economic instability, and the endless wars that could be avoided. But maybe what's happening now is what happened to Tesla 100 years ago. In Tesla's time, nobody was interested in creating technology that would make power free for everyone. Empires owned by J.P. Morgan, the Vanderbilts, and the Rockefellers would have been devastated. These families owned all the energy production and distribution in the United States. Their companies were the lifeblood of American industry. The families were American royalty. If Tesla was able to achieve his vision, not only would the wealth of these families be diminished, but so would America's standing in the world as a great new industrial power. Tesla said he wanted to bring abundant electrical energy to remote, underdeveloped parts of the world to foster closer communication between nations. This couldn't be allowed to happen. America and the corporations that controlled it would never have given up their advantage. They still won't. Colorado Springs, July 1899. While testing a magnifying transmitter built to track storms, Nikola Tesla claims he received some sort of transmission from an unknown source. One night, he was tracking thunderstorms 600 miles away when suddenly he heard these beeps. 3 beats in sequence, mathematical and incomprehensible. The more he pondered, the more he believed they originated from outer space, perhaps from the Martians, Mars, with its orbit bringing it close to Earth every 1.8 years, was a likely source. During one such encounter, Tesla thought he picked up signals from Mars. Tesla reported this otherworldly communication, professing his belief in extraterrestrials in a February 1901 article for Collier's Weekly titled "Talking with the Planets." Obsessed, he sought further radio communications from other planets. Based on these transmissions, Tesla developed the theory that extraterrestrial beings had been on Earth for a millennium, manipulating mankind since its inception. Did these communications lead to useful information aiding his inventions? Many believe Tesla had direct contact with extraterrestrial intelligence through his inventions. However, Tesla's shocking revelation was rejected by his scientific peers, and he was labeled a mad scientist. Tesla, who had electrified the world, experienced a falling out with powerful figures like J.P. Morgan and Edison. Accusations of attempting to signal Mars were exploited by his enemies to discredit him. In the early 1900s, Tesla was rumored to be considered for the Nobel Prize but never received it, contributing to his marginalization in scientific history. Even today, scientists overlook Tesla's contributions, though he delved into quantum physics concepts well before his time. Historians claim Tesla began working on his flying machine in 1910, focusing on field propulsion or anti-gravity. He believed high amounts of electricity could create lift. Throughout the 1920s and 30s, Tesla spoke of anti-gravity ships powered by Wardenclyffe Towers, boasting no wings or fuel, being entirely electric. Were Tesla's designs groundbreaking, or as ancient astronaut theorists suggest, had similar vehicles visited Earth in the past? If Tesla indeed made contact with extraterrestrials, did he continue to carry out their wishes in secret?